In today's world, everything is smart. It's just emotions are not getting smarter.
Yeah.
Emotions are as raw, and when the emotions are raw, those are pure.
In counseling, in mental health work, every time we do grief and bereavement, that's the one thing we are constantly trying to grapple with, the finality.
कई बार सिचुएशन ऐसी हो जाती है कि उनका सफरिंग इतना होता है कि रास्ता आपके सामने और कोई नहीं होता, यही होता है कि इनको जाने दो.
Think 100 times before you get a pet at home because it's a lifetime commitment.
Welcome to the Happy Podcast, the ultimate destination for all things that make pets and their humans happy. I'm your host Sonali Bendre, and this is Icy Behel. And on this show, we will talk about everything that contributes to the joyous coexistence of pets and their beloved humans. आज हम एक heartfelt topic discuss करेंगे जो बहुत लोगों के साथ deeply resonate करेगा. Coping with the loss of our beloved ones, our pets. Pets हमारी family होते हैं, confidants होते हैं. They are sources of unconditional love. उनका loss बहुत overwhelming और emotional experience हो सकता है. चलिए मिलके इस मुश्किल वक्त को navigate करने के तरीके explore करते हैं. To help us navigate this difficult journey, we have two wonderful guests joining us today. First, we have Miss Meera Thosar, founder of Happy Tales. She has been a professional dog trainer and behaviorist since 2006. Meera has trained under Shireen Merchant, Canine Scan Care Mumbai, and John Rogerson, Northern Center for Canine Training and Behavior UK. Meera specializes in canine aggression and has expertise in explosive detection, guide dog handling, and competitive obedience training. In 2011, she launched the Happy Tales boarding facility in Pune, a premium service that hosts 350 to 500 dogs annually. Since October 2020, Meera has been conducting a kennel management course emphasizing the importance of combining classroom theory with practical fieldwork. I'm sure your experience is going to resonate with our listeners and our viewers. We are also honored to have Pooja Nair. She is a mental health practitioner with a private counseling practice in Mumbai. She holds MPhil from Tata Institute of Social Sciences and serves as a consultant therapist with Mariwala Health Initiative. Pooja grew up with a lot of dogs and volunteers at IDA, Mumbai. In her practice, she supports clients grieving pet loss and occasionally uses pets in her therapy sessions also. I think, what would you call that? When you use animals
Animal assisted therapy.
Animal assistance in therapy sessions. So let's start with a slightly difficult topic today with pet loss and grieving. What happens when you lose your baby? What happens when you lose your companion? What happens when you lose a part of your heart, I would say? How do you deal with the grief? How do you deal with the loss? What are the stages of grief? There's so much to be unpacked, and I have two experts here who are going to help me unpack this. Welcome to the show. I hope I'm very excited to have you both here because this is a topic that always, that's something, I mean, we've all been through it, and I have a confession to make here on the show today. My baby before this was a boy called Neo, and IC came into our lives, and I think about 2 years later, I lost Neo. That would have been about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, because she's 10 now. And I still have his ashes at home. I have not been able to let go of them. How do I say it? So I understand that, sorry about that, I understand that I'm still grieving. And obviously I've not dealt with it enough because it's not normal to be holding on to something for 8 years. So I understand that something is not right about what I'm doing. Maybe I don't know if right or wrong is the right way to deal with it, but I need to let go and I'm not able to let go. So somewhere we're going to do a therapy session here and understand how do we deal with this. Can you share something with me about how do people deal with this? Do you have an experience and how did you deal with it when you went through loss?
First of all, I'm glad that you prefaced this whole conversation with how difficult it is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes you understand the intensity of love also by the intensity of pain you experience after you lose that love. And I cannot imagine how difficult it must have been for you as well. And as you said, you're still struggling. And that is how it goes for a lot of people. There are no scripts, first of all, on how to deal with pet loss. Who is going to tell you that it's okay to feel sad for 8 years,
Yeah.
And so I think that usually is the first sort of stumbling block. Because in some of the literature, this kind of grief is called disenfranchised grief. It's grief that has no recognition, no value, no support.
What do you mean by no value? And
I mean, I suppose it would not surprise anybody if, you were told that, but it was just an animal. Just a dog, just your pet. And you wouldn't, no one would dare to say that about human loss, right? We would not say that. And therefore, like I said, that's the first block. It is as if you have no permission to grieve either. Let's forget about the process of grieving, which will come later when you are allowed to grieve. So at this point, I would say that it's grief that has no permission.
Basically. So how did you deal with loss when, because you've always had dogs, you've had pets. So I'm sure you've gone through it too.
My answer is, I still am. Like you said, but I think the question is asked with the expectation that it will end somehow, and the listener wants to hear that you are doing better. But what if you're not? What if it's not something which has a sell-by date? What if you're still grieving? What if there are various things you do in your day? Sometimes you feel connected with your lost friend, companion. Sometimes you feel their loss intensely and you don't know what to do. But the point is that you wouldn't be able to speak about it. And therefore, I feel that it's grief that endures for years, for a really long time.
So would you say it's very normal to kind of, normal to seek help in this grieving process?
Absolutely.
So would you say that the bond between humans and pets is so profound that it is normal to grieve them the way you would grieve any other family member?
Yes, because it is normal to grieve a loss.
How normal has it been now? Are people beginning to reach out? Because, when I introduced you and, we hear that you counsel people who come when they're grieving their pets.
Yes.
And how many people are actually reaching out and, to kind of solve this? Okay, again, not the right word to use because you just said it's not a problem, but to deal with the grief, to cope with it. How many people are actually beginning to open out and starting to talk about it?
I think in urban centers, say a city like Bombay, it would be easier. And say those who have access to social media, exposure on social media are slightly more comfortable having this conversation. But the interesting thing is that those who come to therapy are people who are unable to have this conversation with their family or their, quote unquote, usual support systems. These are people who are unable to speak to their partners about this grief, those who are unable to speak to their parents about it. And one would imagine all these systems are around you. Why not just tap into them? Why not just access them? But that just doesn't seem to happen for pet parents. And they have to look for professional services, because the loads are heavy. You need more hands on deck.
Right. Meera, you are a trainer, a behaviorist. You've dealt with many animals. They move in and out. You have animals that come and board with you. So there's a different way that you deal with them. You'll have your own pets, but you will also be attached to animals which come and go under your care, be it while training, be when they're boarding. So how do you see a lot of it? It's not just for me like it's one animal. You deal with so many of them. How would you tell us, how do you deal with it, and what would your suggestion be to deal with this loss? Because we have a therapist here who can tell us, but this is something which is so practical because you've gone through it so many more times. I'm sure it doesn't make it easier. I don't mean to sound that, but you've seen much more of it than probably all of us who have 1 or 2, 3, 4 pets over our lifetime, but
That's true. That's true. So one of the disadvantage I would say about being a professional into this industry is when we celebrate our yearly yearly achievements.
Right.
That we are 5 years old, we are 8 years old,
Right.
Old brand. Now I'm 18 years old brand.
Wow.
And I have lost all my first students, first boarders, first consults which I did for the pets and their owners. Definitely with them now the second batch is there, but the
Yeah.
first ones are already gone.
Yeah.
So there is no replacement as such, and you do miss them. It's a constant feeling. And when we talk about the grief, it's not necessarily about feeling sad and being into tears all the time.
Right.
Sometimes it just you miss out on going on a walk with your favorite dog.
Yeah.
It's your entire set of routine gets disrupted,
Yeah.
and those
But
memories.
over the years, routines change. It's not like, for the
Routine
first few
changes
times,
with-
it can be, the routine is different. But after a point, we do adapt to routines. But still, why is it that we are not able to let go?
Yes.
Is it not that? What is it?
Yes, because we share a very different relation with the dogs or pet animal, I would say. The pet word came into picture somewhere in 1530.
Okay.
And the meaning, its true meaning is a special child.
Oh,
The technical term is a companion animal. It can be cattle, it can be the farm animals, it can be birds, it can be fishes.
right.
But the real meaning of pet is a special child.
I didn't know this. I love this. I love the meaning of pet. It's a special child. Which
and that's
she is.
and that's what describes why we share that special bond. There is also one interesting study about why people who love animals, why they can't resist the puppy eyes.
Please tell us.
There is a
why can't
study.
we resist them?
Because oxytocin is a bonding hormone.
Right.
Okay, they can't hug us.
Yeah.
They can't kiss us. Okay, but it's their eyes which
Yeah.
throws the oxytocin, and it's our eyes which throws the oxytocin when the eye contact happens. So it's a you can say it's a eye to eye hug.
Really?
And-
so that
and-
means when she looks at me, she's hugging me.
Yes.
I do feel that when Icy looks at me, she's
Yes.
actually giving me commands that I want you to do this for me, get that for me, give me this treat. I'm going to look at it like she's hugging me and ignore the command.
Reciprocate the hug though. you try and simply just exchange a smile, and
Yeah.
you will see some sort of happy expressions or happy body language in her.
Yeah, sometimes she just kind of settles down when you
Yeah.
just give a look and you smile, and then she's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're here.
Yeah,
that
that's-
sort of a
that's
thing.
the thing.
Yeah, that silent presence.
Yes.
Which is so comforting. That's what it is that we miss, I think, when we lose our special child, and that's the zone of it. Is there some sort of a technique that you would suggest that would help in kind of getting over the grief? Not getting over it completely, maybe,
Sure.
but just so that it's manageable.
Yeah.
Sometimes, grief can be debilitating, and you become immobile. You can't think. So at that point of time, is there something that you can suggest that can at least kind of, take you through that moment, that day sometimes?
So I think I would classify the response in two groups. One is that there is the very difficult long-term sort of processing, which is to allow yourself to feel the sadness, have opportunities to talk about your loved one, be in spaces where you will not be questioned about your grief. So for example, what if you might want to avoid a friends group where you cannot just be this person who's grieving, because what if the expectation is for you to be upbeat and things like that. So do you, maybe stay away from places where you have to perform happiness for others. So there are some of these longer processes, and more in terms of techniques and all, is one of the things is connected to what Meera said about what your day looks like changes. You were also talking about routine, right?
Yeah.
So how would you respond to that? Because you still have to get through those 24 hours, and now a very important part of that day is no longer around.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the immediate sort of supports that individuals and families need, is what to do with your day.
How do we identify that this is normal grief? And how do we identify with the fact that this is not just normal grief, but you need professional help?
So first of all, I'd say that maybe all kinds of grief you can approach a counselor. So I'm coming from a space of not stigmatizing any kind of help.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And one doesn't have to qualify on any scale in order to seek therapy. So I just want that to be sort of the foundation for this response. So if you feel you need to speak to someone, just do.
Okay.
However, I also understand what you're saying in terms of, if it gets debilitating and you need more support. As I said earlier, if the load is too heavy to carry by yourself, and if you find that getting through the day, as I said, is harder, and there is, a lot of times we do have this sense that everything's not right, and that you're not able to do this by yourself. There might be people around you who tell you you don't seem okay.
Yeah.
So some of those can be clues. Of course, there are no perfect situations in which to take support. पर अगर आपको लगता है कि मुझे ज़रूरत है, अगर लगता है कि बस बहुत मुश्किल हो रहा है अब,
पर कभी कभी हम इमोशंस को इतने बेरी कर देते हैं, अंदर रख देते हैं, हम खुद रियलाइज नहीं करते हैं कि आई एम फीलिंग दिस. और say for example, and I'm throwing this to both of you because you deal with so many families also, Meera. For example, हम फिर भी बड़े हैं, लेकिन बच्चे, when they lose a pet, and like when my son went through that loss, and he did not talk about it at all. He was like, okay, ये होना था, understood it, and I thought he was doing well. It was a month later that I realized he was not doing well, because for the whole month he was getting asthma attacks. And we couldn't find a reason, and first we thought. So it was after a while, after a month, जब हमने देखा कि कोई ऐसी वजह नहीं जिसकी वजह से उसको ये अटैक आना चाहिए, कोई एलर्जेंस नहीं है, खाने में कुछ ऐसा नहीं गया है. एंड देन आई स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग एंड आई रियलाइज कि ये इमोशनल रिस्पॉन्स है उसका. एंड द ओनली इमोशनल थिंग जो अभी हुआ है, एक महीने पहले, ही इज़ लॉस्ट द पेट. एंड दो आईसी वॉज अराउंड एट दैट टाइम, और शी इज़ माई सन्स डॉग इन दैट सेंस, और वो बहुत खुशी से खेलता था उसके साथ में, वो सब नॉर्मल लाइफ, स्कूल जा रहा है, लेकिन रोज़ उठ के उसके आस्थमा के अटैक्स फॉर कंटिन्यूसली फॉर मोर देन अ मंथ उसको आस्थमा का अटैक्स आ रहे थे. देन आई रियलाइज दैट ही वॉज बेरिंग द इमोशन. तो जब हम ये समझ भी नहीं पाते कि ये क्या है जो हम बेरी कर रहे हैं, तब हम कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करें इस बात को. मतलब इसी बात को अगर मैं थोड़ा जल्दी आइडेंटिफाई कर लेती तो 1-1.5 महीना माई चाइल्ड वुडंट हैव सफर्ड. So how would you help me with that? Meera, what would you say?
So, we have rituals in almost every culture.
Right.
And when the death happens, we do some post-death rituals.
Right.
That is for the easy passage for everybody.
Right.
For the individual who has gone, and for the people who are going through that trauma.
Right.
When you are grieving, there is no right or wrong.
Right.
A grief is a grief. Depending on your age, depending on the individual sensitivity, also those things matters. But the context about how adults see these things versus the child,
right,
is always different. And many times we have seen that the parents or the grandparents, they will say कि भगवान के घर चला गया है.
हाँ.
And the child has a next question, where is भगवान का घर? Take me there too. I'm missing my dog.
But also the question they ask is कि हाँ भगवान के घर गए, लेकिन क्या वो खुश है वहाँ पे मेरे बिना?
Exactly.
That thing, how do you explain that to a child?
Exactly. So considering the age, and now are the days where the kids are getting matured at at an early age. So considering the age, you can really sit and have a normal conversation
Okay.
instead of having any fairy tale conversation that, you know, there will be a rainbow bridge, there will be a unicorn, and the dog is having fun on the skies, and you know there is a tara, ऊपर तारा है वो चमकेगा तभी, that's the indication कि ये हमारा बच्चा है.
Right.
You know, instead of having those conversation, maybe we can try and explain them what is death and what exactly has happened.
Okay.
In a more sensitive manner. So then, you know, because the kids, they have the hope. किसी के घर गया तो शायद वापस आएगा. And then they live on that hope, and you know, there is, for certain things in life, there is no comeback.
Right.
And this is one of the factors that it's not going to come back.
So you have to do, so that means what you're saying is the rituals, the closure is what you're
Closure,
looking
yeah.
for. How would you honor the loss? Would you honor the memory? That could be a ritual that you could, adopt to kind of get through the grief, that you honor the memory, you honor the loss.
Yeah.
How would you say that you honor the loss?
I suppose here I won't be talking from a sort of professional position, because my personal journey of grieving has been quite messy and quite
really?
imperfect, as most of our journeys tend to be.
But it's good to hear that, you know, even, I'm sorry for an imperfect, and that must have been sad and, you know, hurting, but, you know, it's good to hear that
normal.
even, yeah, so it's okay if we go through imperfect journeys of grieving and all of that. Great, that's good to know.
Like I said, the imperfect part of it is I have flitted between just completely ignoring that this has happened, filling my life with distractions, and then suddenly reaching a point where the distractions don't work, and then I have to encounter it, and then I go back to... So it's been a fluctuation between distractions and encountering the loss.
Right.
And that's the messy part. It keeps going back and forth. So I think
What
that's how
about
it's
you?
been.
We have a system, I would
Okay.
say. System money, again, we go back to the ritual. There should be a easy passage for the animal and the other people who are suffering through that grief. And so far we have planted trees where the dogs or the cats which are resting in my property.
Nice.
So, and we have some of
do you name the trees after those animals?
may not be, but we know who is resting under which tree. And then we have certain pet owners who would come every 3rd month, every 6 months, you know, just to meet the tree, and they spend some time around the tree. If they want to bring some, some flowers, sometimes they put udbatti. You know, those are the rituals and those are the emotions. People who do not understand the relationship of a pet owner with their pet, they can judge these things, but for us, this is the connection.
Right.
That before coming here today, I lost my first dog 4 years ago.
Oh.
And we were just talking in the morning today, and she's been with me in all my hardships. We started our journey together in an auto rickshaw, and she died when I was driving my own car. You know, so we have seen and we have been through that things together, and that's
How old was she?
She was 12 years old and she died of a cancer again. And so we have planted a tree in her memory. She's resting in my facility. So it's a everyday story for me.
So today, before you were just
coming
saying-
here, I took a picture with her yesterday, and I said, tomorrow again I'm going to talk about you.
Oh, what
And-
was her name?
Millie.
Millie.
She's
See.
my first dog.
Yeah.
Before Millie, I nearly had around 15-20 odd cats, which were rescued and adopted by me and my family. And they all went to certain age. Some died at the age of 15, 17. When we had special connection with each animal.
Right.
It's about the relationship, and no relationship is perfect.
Yeah.
There will be some plus minus, there will be
Right.
some, arguments.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the relationship and the
relationship.
companionship.
Yeah. That's
It's
how
about
it
walking
grows.
together.
Right.
So we have planted trees in their memories,
Mm-hmm.
and when this I offer to only certain clients which are, you know, very close to me, the dogs which are very close to me. And we do their burial in a very respectful manner and a scientific manner also, where they can attend and, you know, we do the last rites of the animal.
Okay. When you say you do the last rites, is there a sort of a protocol that is specific and special to you?
Because, you know, those dogs have been coming to me for staying, for training, and it's a long years of relationship. Around 10 to 12 years is what we share together. And when their pet owner says that you know, Happy Tails has been their happy place.
Yeah.
So is there any way where
That we can keep them happy forever.
Yeah.
That's-
And then, you know, then we also make a note that you know, Simba checked in at Happy Tails Pune for the last time.
Oh.
You know,
make
and
me cry.
and then but these are the facts, and this is about again a maintaining relationship. Certain families, they don't have dogs with them anymore because they don't want to go through that.
it. Yes, yeah.
But they do come, they visit the tree, they spend at least 1 hour to 2 hours. Sometimes they bring the lunch for the whole team. You know, it's about sharing those emotions.
Correct, yeah.
And in today's world, everything is smart. It just emotions are not getting smarter.
Yeah. They are
Emotions are as raw, and when the emotions are raw, those are pure.
My God, I love that term, as you said. And Meera, you were sharing the story. What I want to ask you is that do you have any clients who have come to you which are children? You know, बच्चे हैं.
Yeah.
Parents लेके आए हैं कि हम नहीं समझ रहे हैं कि इसको क्या करें. Maybe there must be some parents जिन मेरी तरह नहीं है, जिन्होंने इसको earlier identify कर लिया है कि ये है problem. How do I deal with it? Do you have anybody who's come to you like that? Do you have any clients like that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, yes, there are children also who are coping with this loss. And one of the difficulties in working with children is that it's easier with adults because of because we are more verbal. We use words, and even now, this conversation is easier for us to have क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे हैं, शब्द का इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. But children may not always have that as a preferred mode of communication. You know, what do you do if they're not talking to you, but they might still be expressing their grief in so many different ways. And adults, we live in such a verbal culture that unless we hear words, we don't know what to do with the situation.
So, how do we identify कि ये बोल नहीं रहे हैं, मतलब शब्द इस्तेमाल नहीं कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये signs हैं. ये how do we pick on those signs? How do we identify those signs?
So it can either be a sign as in that मदद की ज़रूरत है, or it can be a sign that they are coping, in fact. Because in one of my in a situation in client work, the child was grieving by being a lot in contact with the doggy bed.
Ooh.
So it might be a material object that is offering comfort at that point, because you can't hold or hug the dog, and they were very cuddly together, as we tend to be with in so many times.
Right.
So the child was missing the physical presence, and that was not something that she could talk herself out of or talk her way through.
Right.
And so she used to spend time in that doggy bed and with the doggy bed, and the appropriate adult response would be to not see it as abnormal or weird or odd, or just allow for that to happen. And over time, children are also quite resilient.
Right.
Things did move.
Right.
But you have to allow it to move according to their...
So, you would say that the parents brought the child to you at that point of time?
Yes, wondering if this was okay.
Okay.
Or whether this was a sign, like we started off, right? Is this
Yeah.
normal?
Yeah.
But that was her way of grieving. She was not talking about it. Maybe she didn't want to talk about it. It's
Right.
fine. But this was her way of processing that loss. And I think the smell was helping her. But slowly the smell also fades. So then what do you do? So...
जब पेट का लॉस होता है तो ये ग्रीफ और ग्रीविंग तो होता ही है, लेकिन आपने, जब हम बात कर रहे थे अभी पहले, आपने एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट पॉइंट रेज किया था, एंड दैट इज़ द गिल्ट फैक्टर. कई बार हमें गिल्ट इस वजह से होता है कि हमारी ज़िंदगी लंबी है और उनकी इतनी छोटी होती है, इसलिए एक गिल्ट होता है जो एक नॉर्मल नेचुरल डेथ भी अगर हो जाती है तो ये गिल्ट तो होता है. दूसरा गिल्ट तब होता है जब यू हैव टू पुट डाउन द एनिमल. हम ह्यूमन बींग्स के बारे में ये कभी सोच भी नहीं सकते, और वो गिल्ट है कि हम हमारे इन स्पेशल बच्चों के बारे में क्यों ये सोच रहे हैं फिर. लेकिन कई बार सिचुएशन ऐसी हो जाती है कि उनका सफरिंग इतना होता है कि रास्ता आपके सामने और कोई नहीं होता, यही होता है कि इनको जाने दो.
Correct.
इज दैट व्हाट यू वुड कॉल इट, कि इनको जाने दो?
To, yeah,
उस गिल्ट का क्या
make
करें?
the suffering end, huh?
You know, I'll talk on that part later, because since we are talking about the grief and we are talking only about the death, but losing a pet can have different motives, or not motives but different reason. A pet which goes missing,
Oh yeah.
a pet which need to get rehomed or get abandoned,
Oh my God, yeah.
or a pet which for no reason dies accidentally.
जहाँ पे पेट मिसिंग जाता है या रीहोम करने की
जी.
नौबत आती है,
जी.
there's no closure there.
Exactly.
That's even worse, that means.
Exactly.
So what happens then?
So first of all, and again, for these two factors, everything takes you back on your first decision. Think 100 times before you get a pet at home, because it's a lifetime commitment. Just because now you can't manage the size, you can't manage the hair on your furniture, now you don't have anybody to share the responsibilities, because a lot of time the rehoming happens because nobody is ready to take the responsibility,
Or
their share
an
of
adult
responsibility.
relationship has ended.
Absolutely.
So many times it happens क्योंकि आपकी
Absolutely.
relationship workout नहीं हुई. In the flush of love, आप puppy लेके
Absolutely.
आए हैं, and then you realize that it's not working.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah.
Absolutely. And in that process, the dog or the pet animal also suffers. I had a dog which was staying with me for good 8 months, because the couple was going through the separation and they were not ready, they were not able to come to terms who will take the dog's responsibility. At one point in time, being into this industry or being into this profession puts us into a commanding position where we have to take a stand for the sake of animal, for their welfare. And when I say welfare, it's not about just bringing 20 kg food bag and bringing
Right.
expensive toys and beds. No, it's about the emotional well-being of that animal.
Right.
I said, you take your own time. You have got this dog before you got married,
Yeah.
during your courtship. And this is the result, your courtship, the dog is the result of your courtship.
Yeah.
And you have to take equal responsibility. I don't know what you're going to do, but as of now, till the time you guys don't come to the conclusion, I don't want that dog to suffer and develop unnecessary the behavior problems where his or her future will be at a toss.
Right.
Because then nobody wants to deal with the behavior problems with dogs. Because I wanted a dog for a companionship.
Right.
I don't want to have a biting dog around me.
Yeah.
And that can definitely happen, because if we talk about the good vibes, good energy, then we also
Need to
accept
give them
the negative energy and the negative impact of
our actions
Exactly.
So
and the
maybe not.
environment.
So the dog was staying with me, and then it was a happy ending.
Okay.
Because they were fighting who will take care of the dog. Both of them, they wanted to take care of the dog.
Okay, chalo, that
They
was a good
decided to go for a marriage council, and they withdrew their divorce filing.
Oh, that's good.
That was a happy story, and I said, whatever you have spent in the 8 months of time,
Yeah.
because the dog was staying with me, and I don't run a free fund.
Right.
There is a cost for everything.
Yeah.
You have invested in your marriage, and you are committed to that dog, and that was, and we are still in touch.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
We are still in touch, and whenever the couple feels that we are just getting little piled up.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a break. The dog comes to me for a 4-5 days stay. The couple goes on their me time.
Yeah. And come back.
and
to it.
they come back together.
Yeah.
So these are the happy stories.
You're like the grandmother and the grandparents that
I
we
love
send
to
our
play
kids
that
to.
role. I love to play that role, and when I get to correct the humans,
Yeah.
that is the best thing. I think the dog might be blessing me on day-to-day basis कि चलो बाबा कुछ तो सिखा लिया हमारे बड़ों को. So this one part is there. बच्चे the animal comes to the house for the kids.
Yeah.
The honeymoon period gets over and the kid doesn't want the dog anymore. So the family decides to, give away the dog or give away the animal. After 3 months, suddenly the kid realizes, no, I'm missing my animal. Then the family gets another one. That is again a vicious circle.
Sometimes, circumstances can be such that you can't maybe physically do what you need to do for the animal.
Correct.
And you have to rehome the animal. It's like losing the animal. That grief also must be as good as
Yes.
losing that, what you pointed out. What do you do then?
There is a brutal say that life must go on, or you just need to move on. Certain things you can't move on. You will start walking ahead in your life, but those memories will always be on your mind. When I decided to let go of my dog, to stop the suffering,
Yeah.
and to give a dignified
End. Yes.
end to the suffering,
Did you feel guilt afterwards?
for a couple of days, yes, because then, I had that doubt. What if I had the possibilities that she may recover from what she was going through, and I have not given the fair chance. But then when we talk about medical factors, there was no comeback.
Yeah. Yeah.
And today I feel blessed that at least in animal world we are able to, we are free to take that decision to give them a dignified
Yeah.
end to their suffering.
Yeah.
Because when you understand there is no comeback, that is the only best way you can give, because all you have is years of good memories. And then you don't want to end up having your dog who is not able to get up and everything is happening on the bed.
Yeah.
As a pet owner, you will do it.
Yeah.
But then what is the quality of life the dog is having?
Absolutely.
Just because the dog is eating and pooping well, that doesn't mean the cycle is going well.
But you can see the suffering. You can see it in their eyes.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still feel bad. I still get, so there are happy times, there are bad times. After 4 years, I'm still feeling bad. I do miss her because right now I'm having my best phase of my life, and she's
That's
not
good.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had a dream together that one day I asked her when I started living in my rented apartment that would you like to stay here forever? It was 9 years ago. And just last year I bought the same house. And then she was not there. But I made a place for her, and it's a big frame in my living room. So every day
You see
she's
her.
around me. And then sometimes, again, we are talking in a smart world where these things may not be taken so well. But sometimes I do feel her presence in my house. I do feel her presence.
Okay.
As Meera said, that one would still wonder, was it the right decision? Should I have delayed by 2 days? Would something have changed?
Yeah.
All of this is made difficult by the fact that there is a finality to death. And that's something in counseling, in mental health work, every time we do grief and bereavement, that's the one thing we are constantly trying to grapple with, the finality.
Yeah.
You cannot review this decision, right?
Right.
I mean, you have to just learn to live with it. You have to grow around it. You have to grow over it, but you cannot change it.
Yeah.
And therefore, that can be quite a difficult
So there's
kind
like
of...
couples counseling that you do where the guilt part is concerned also?
It does play out, yes. Because oftentimes in a household, the animal might be also a stabilizing factor for the unit itself.
Right.
So maybe the humans are able to work with each other, be around each other because there
the
is
end. Yeah.
a pet to take care of. And the loss of the pet can destabilize this unit. So there's a lot of work that goes into how you reconvene and reconnect after this kind of loss.
So you've had couples come in for therapy where one partner says that you took the call and the other says, but there was no option. What does that also happen sometimes?
I mean, that does unpack a lot of things because if that is a starting point, it does lead to a lot of hurt that just sort of spills over into that decision, because one person says that I had to be the strong one. You would have been too weak to make this decision. I had to be the strong one in this, and is this how you respond to my strength when I could see that you were incapable or would not have been able to take this decision? And the other says that no, and the partner has said that, well, maybe strength was not what was required in this moment. Maybe we should have taken a second opinion. Maybe you were too impatient.
Yeah.
Maybe you felt that too many days had gone into taking care and, enough is enough. What if it was your enough is enough? So these are the ways in which these conversations tend to go. And I mean, there is a rupture. And it's all about rebuilding after this rupture happens. It definitely, this kind of grief has the potential to rupture relationships within the family.
You use the word enough is enough. And was it my enough is enough that led me to take this call? That is the guilt that one deals with, actually. Because even if it is something that has to be done, that is a question that there is no really answer for. And that's the thing, I think, because that is I can connect to it, because you keep asking, was it really enough is enough? Or was it because I was not willing to deal with it anymore? What did I do? Did I take the right decision? So, yeah.
Yeah. And another good part is, these things, pet owners, they don't decide by themselves. It should come from the veterinarian.
Yeah.
So when the veterinarian says,
that's something that you as pet owner fall back on, saying ki doctor ne bhi bola tha and all of that. Yeah.
And then from that
but you know
point,
what, Meera, honestly, your doctors can say it, but I have lived with it.
Yeah.
And you still say, I have asked myself the question that, have I kind of cornered my doctor into saying this? You doubt yourself so much because it is so final that you do doubt yourself so much. And it's like you do question that what gave me the right to decide this, and it is a living being, and
was I playing
am
God?
I playing? Oh my God, you said it. That is the thing. Am I playing God? Yeah. Difficult.
It's a difficult,
Yeah.
Altogether difficult part of the pet ownership, I would say. That somewhere down the line, somebody will have to take that call. And one thing is there, if your conscious gives you that assurance that whatever you're doing is best for your dog, then there shouldn't be any place for the guilt, for that guilt.
So I would say, summing it up, I would say that, process of grief, the stages of grief, depending on how you lose your special child, that pet is your special child is the best thing. There is guilt, then there is grief, then there is the feeling of emptiness.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the stages of grief that you go through till you reach a point where you accept the presence, where you might, however smart we are and however scientific we get, we come around to saying that the presence is there or whatever. You kind of go to that. Would you both agree with me that if I put these in these kind of stages, if we have to put it in stages, would this be the stages that we go through in our grief?
I would say yes, without putting any conditions on which stage we go to from
First,
where.
yeah.
Oh, like
Again,
that.
it may not be linear. The journeys may never be linear. Maybe there's guilt now, grief tomorrow. You go back to guilt. Again, like I said, these are imperfect and messy journeys. All one can hope for is that you have your support systems to cope with it, keep it manageable, as you said. And towards the sort of, perhaps if there is an end to this tunnel, I would add the emotion of when we feel the presence, I would also add the feeling of gratitude. That you were loved. You were loved so deeply, so unconditionally by someone, by this animal.
Yeah.
By someone of an entirely different species.
Right.
This kind of an interspecies bond, that you were lucky enough to be loved to this extent. I would for myself and for everyone who's loved an animal, I would hope for that to be part of their grieving or processing of grief, for their journeys.
Right.
I think I would hope for that to be experienced at some point, whenever they're ready.
Right.
Just feel plain lucky and grateful, you know.
And you would add rituals to it that eventually that's would give you the closure.
Yeah, because then again, rituals is something where you surrender yourself.
Right.
There is no ego, there is no overpowering anybody, there is no blame game. Ritual is a simple ritual. And you're surrendering to that animal, sharing your core emotions, that whatever it is, we are, in the end, we are still together.
Right.
And when you perform those rituals, it also gives you some sort of emotional satisfaction that even after death, you did not abandon the soul.
Yeah.
When somebody does that, again, that's another guilt.
Right.
So there should be a proper closure to that, and till the end, because nobody greets us the way our pet animal greets us. You come out of the shower, you come home after 1 hour, 2 hours, or 10 days, the happiness is the same.
Right.
And no human feels so happy when you come out of the shower. It's only the pet animal who can, jump and they exchange that sort of emotion. And you are going to miss that.
Yeah.
So why not to give a proper ritualistic end to the whole chapter?
Right. Nice, yeah. To close the circle, I would say that what you said before, that understand that जब आप एक pet घर लेके आते हो, उसके साथ में ये खिलौना नहीं है.
Correct.
It's not a toy for your child or for yourself, or okay, let's see how is our relationship going. It's another living being with emotions, and you're going to feel a lot more. And doesn't mean that, even if your pet's life is of a certain amount of years, doesn't mean they'll let you go, because that emotion that you feel for them kind of keeps them with you for so much after they've gone also. I would say the rituals, so that you honor the loss, you honor their memory, the fact that you identify that, is it guilt, what is it that I'm feeling, getting your support system so that you grieve together. Maybe that will get you to go through the grief better. And then reaching that stage where we feel the gratitude that these angels did come into our life and we had them for that much time. So I think that's what I would say my takeaway from this episode is, that rather than grieving needn't always be just the sad part of it. I don't know if I'm putting it right, just the sadness, but grieving the stage after that, or as you go ahead in stage, will be gratitude also. Understanding the fact that they came into your life to teach you something, to make you feel something, and just honor that memory, just honor that loss. Form your own rituals within your family, with your child, with your partner, which can be very specific to you. And year after year, as you go, you keep honoring the memory, honor that loss, and maybe that's how you kind of grieve and you go through the grief and maybe come at the other end of the tunnel at some point of time. Thank you so much. It was a great episode. Thank you, Meera. Thank you, Pooja. And I'm hoping to have you back again, because I have not finished with all my questions. There's so many more things that will come to me. But you've given me a lot to unpack today. And I want to kind of digest it. And hopefully I'll have more questions for you in the next time. And from the listeners and the viewers also, I would say that send us the questions, send us your feedback, and we will have them back again and ask them more questions. Thank you so much. And I see, thank you for being so amazing.